Hello everyone. This is a very challenging topic, remembering milestones. But all the same, it is very essential for us to remember the milestones achieved by children at different ages, because unless we know the normal, how would we know this is abnormal? So, as all of us know that we have several domains of development in which we have the gross motor, fine motor, language, personal and social. Along with that, whenever we are doing the developmental assessment, we need to look at the vision and hearing also. So there are so many milestones. How do we remember? Let's try to simplify. In the gross motor milestone, just remember this figure. So we know that this is a circle, a line, a square, and when we look at the first year of age, we know that the cephalocaudal progression of milestones takes place. So in the first year of life, the progression is 3 monthly. Head to toe, and we see the milestone development 3 monthly. So what will come first? Yes, at 3 months the head holding will come. So next milestone will be at 6 months, when the truncal balance comes and the child can sit with own support. The next milestone will be at 9 months, when he can crawl, and 12 months when he walks like a bear, which means that he kind of walks with his hand and soles of the feet touching the ground on all fours. So in the first year, the major milestones are every 3 monthly. Next we go, in the second year we'll go 6 monthly. At 18 months, when he has already started walking independently, he starts running at 18 months. At 2 years, remember 2 and 2. So he climbs up and down stairs 2 steps at a time, and in addition, after running, what is the uh, normal milestone? Yeah, the logical milestone is after running you start jumping. So at 2 years, jump and go up and down stairs 2 steps at a time. At 3 years, remember 3 with try. So 3 years he is able to ride a tricycle. Now always know that going up is easier than coming down. So climbing upstairs comes first at 3 years, when he can climb upstairs 1 step at a time. Next is 4 years. 4 years he can climb downstairs 1 step at a time. So now at 4 years he will be doing both, climbing upstairs and downstairs 1 step at a time. In addition, he can hop. So this is the milestone when he can stand on 1 foot and play games like hopscotch. At 5 years he can skip. Now coming to the fine motor milestones. In the fine motor milestones, the figure, you remember the first figure that we drew, we'll use a similar figure in the fine motor milestone to remember the Jessel figures. So in the 15 months he is able to draw a horizontal stroke. Then comes the circle. Circle comes at 3 years. So many of the milestones will revolve around 3 years of age, because at this age he draws a circle. This is the age he'll be able to use the round shape in putting in various kind of form boards and all. So this round, and even draw a man test where he is able to draw the shape of the face, because he can draw a circle, comes at 3 years. So Jessel figures 3 years circle. So you can remember in the tummy of the 3 there is a circle. So remember 3 and a circle. So there is a cross. This cross comes at 4 years. So you remember something on the neck, one can wear a cross, and this comes at 4 years. And then a square. So after this, to show the shape of the trunk in a boy, 4 years, the square comes at 4.5 years. Then comes the triangle. Triangle comes at 5 years, and you can remember that triangle as a flag on the top of the 5. So remember this triangle at 5. So 3 circle, 4 cross, 4.5 years square, and 5 years a triangle. Then comes diamond. So just visualize diamonds as the legs of this baby, and as diamond is a 7-letter word, so at 7 year the ability to draw diamonds come. Now a little more complicated figure. So if you make a 2-dimensional cross, yeah, so this will come at twice of 4, that is 8 years. Then if the trunk becomes more rounded as the age proceeds, yes, so cylinder, so double of 4.5 at 9 years. Then comes something which is, you can visualize that there are lots of 11s in the cube. So these straight lines, visualize 11 in them. So this cube comes at 11 years of age. Now next important milestone is arranging cubes. That could be in the form of towers, or it could be in the form of several shapes. So when we talk about the making tower, that ability comes because of ability to release the cubes from the hand. Since the release ability comes only around 13 to 14 months, then only the child can first start making a tower. So the tower of 2 cubes is usually made around 15 months of age. Okay, and by 18 he is able to make tower of 3 cubes. So what we must know is that when we visualize a tower at 2 years of age. Now we know that 2 years is made up of 24. 24, 2 plus 4, you remember? So 2 plus 4 is 6, and this 6 is the tower, the cube number of tower at 2 years of age. Similarly, at 3 years, 3 years is made up of 36 months. So 36 months, 3 plus 6. So tower of 9 cubes at 3 years or 36 months. So remembering becomes easy. 15 months he starts making towers, first 2 cubes, then 3 cubes, then of 6 cubes, and then of 9 cubes at 15 months, 18 months, 24 months, and 36 months respectively. So now, cube manipulation skills. How does he draw several things? So you see the train. So arranging the cubes in the form of a train. So remember 2T. So 2T is train, and this is without chimney, and by 2.5 years he is able to make a train with a chimney. So 3B. So at 3 years he makes a bridge like this. And then remember 4G. Now 4G may be old, but 4G is for the gate, and the gate is usually made like this. And 5S, at 5 years of age, the child is able to make stairs like this. So 2T, 3B, 4G and 5S to understand and remember cube manipulation skills. Now coming to scissor skills. So scissor skills, why they are important? Because once the child learns to use scissors, the prerequisite that he should be having a good sitting balance so that the arms and hands can be used freely. Also, the child should also have strong wrist and hand muscles so that he can open and close the scissors. He should have bilateral coordination because one of the hand will be the preferred hand which will use the scissor, and the other will be an assistant or a helping hand that will help to turn or manipulate the paper. And good hand-eye coordination should also be there for cutting around shapes, and an ability to use thumb, index and middle fingers whilst the other fingers remain still. So how do we check that? We take a pair of suitable scissors which is child safe, which does not have a very sharp edge, and show interesting methods of using them. So how do the skills come? Between 1.5 to 2 years, the child will just be able to hold the scissors. He'll be using both the hands and to hold and just open the scissors. By 2 to 2.5 years, he'll be able to snip paper. Still, he cannot go in a linear line to cut it. He'll just make a snip while someone else holds the cardboard. That also snips paper. It might be tough. He may be asking for a tougher and more stiff thing like a cardboard. So at this age, the same age of 2 to 2.5 years, it may be easier for the child to in fact be cutting the strips of dough. After that, at 3 years, he is able to go along a straight line cutting it. I haven't put a picture of that. Then by 4 years, so we remembered that the circle, the Jessel figure of circle came at 3 years. So cutting that will be at least 1 year later. So it comes at 4 years. Similarly, the square came at 4.5 years. That's the same age, 4.5 to 5 years, when he can cut also the square shape. Now just see that one of the hand is the is always the main hand which is using it, and the other hand is the helping or the assistant hand which is manipulating. And in both the things you can see that there is a thumbs up approach. And then by 5 to 6 years he can cut complex shapes like a polygon. So remember, between 1.5 to 6 years of age, all the scissor milestones are achieved. So remember that for fine motor domain, most of the items will be done by 5 to 6 years of age. So now coming to form board. Form board not only tests the fine motor skills, it is also a test of intellect or general understanding. The conventional form board that is used for actually checking the IQ till 10 years of age is Seguin-Goddard form board, where the time taken for completion of the activity, putting all these 10 different items in their particular slots, these blocks in their slots, which is a wooden cardboard with all the shapes. The time taken from 3.5 years, which is the best among the 3 trials of 56 seconds, comes down to 20 seconds by 8 years of age. And this is used as a definitive test for of IQ test, a performance based test. But if you see, there is a simple form board also, because these abilities come by 3.5 years of age. So the simple form board comes right at 15 months, where the child is able to place round block. At 18 months he piles 3 blocks. At 2 years he places all 3. 2.5 years he inserts all 3 with some errors, and 3 years inserts without error. So see, within a gap of 1.5 years, starting at 15 months to 3 years, in the simple form board there are only 3 items to be placed. The primary 3 shapes, the circle, the square and the triangle. So within a span of 1.5 years, he is able to, starting from the round shape, he is able to place all the 3 shapes in a simple form board. So what we usually keep in the in development assessment kit is a colored geometric form board, where we have 10 shapes. So in the colored form board, around 2.5 years of age, the child is able to put the round block, and by 3 years he is able to place at least 3 shapes. So remember, 3 years places 3. So 3 is a very golden kind of age, where the child is able to do the things which are starting point of many activities. So 3 years he places 3 shapes, 4 years he places 6 shapes, by 4.5 years he can place 8 to 9 shapes, and by 5 years he places 10. So remember, 3 years 3 shapes, 5 years all the 10, double of 5. So in between 4, 6, 4.5, 8 to 9. So this is how the form board skills go about. So these are the other types of form boards available with different types of IQ tests in the personal and social development. So following simple orders like 18 months, the child can follow 2 orders. By 2 years, he can follow 4 orders, independent orders like take the ball to the mother, put the ball on the chair, bring the ball to me, put the ball on the table. Then another thing is naming common objects which are visible, which are the household objects like pencil or shoe. At 18 months, he can name one object. At 2 years, he can name 2 to 5 objects. And by 2.5 years, see the vocabulary is so rapidly expanding. By 5 years, he is able to name 5 common objects. So this development, following orders and naming common objects, is starting at 18 months, and by 2.5 years, it is quite a rapid progression of orders and naming objects. Then if we look at these sequential personal and social development, just to remember, you remember first what you do is you remember the ones which are occurring at 3 monthly interval, and then you remember the ones which can be put in between. So 3 months he recognizes mother, 6 months there is a stranger anxiety and he smiles at mirror and pats his mirror image. 9 months he waves bye-bye and he claps. 12 months he plays simple ball games. That means he can throw the ball. The 12 months is the age when he can throw the ball and he understands simple questions. Then by 15 months there is a jargon speech. 18 months he follows simple orders that we just discussed, that he can follow one step command. He can do mimicry, domestic mimicry. That means that he can follow what the mother is doing around and do the same thing. At 2 years, he can ask for toilet as well as the food and points to objects and body parts. At 3 years, he has the name and gender identity. At 4 years, he has a group play. He goes independently to the toilet. At 5 years, he follows 3-step command. Now see, this is different. The 2-year one where we said he follows 4 commands. The 4 commands were may be separate commands, but this is a 3-step command. Like you take this toffee, you open it and eat it and give the wrapper back to me. So this will be a 3-step command in which he has to remember the sequence of the commands and what commands have been given. At 5 years, he also identifies 4 colors and digits. So we'll be coming to more detail of that. So see, picture card. So we usually keep a picture book in the kit. So how do we remember? So there are 2 things. One is pointing at object. So and the other one is naming. So pointing means when the question will be where is this? And naming will be when the question is what is this? So obviously naming or what is this answering is more difficult than just identifying where is this. Like in the picture book, I ask where is the cat? An 18-month-old child will be able to point at least one picture, whereas he would not be able to name any picture. At 2 years, he is able to point at five of the pictures and he can name 3. At 2.5 years, he can point at 7 and name 5. At 3 years, he can point at several. So we don't have norms for 3 and 3.5 years, but we have naming norms. 3 years 8 and 3.5 years 10. So again, I told you the golden age of 3 years. So at 3 years, he can name 8 objects or items in the picture book. Then colors, again think 3 years. 3 years is the age when he starts naming color. At 3 years he names 1 color. At 4 years he names 2 to 3 colors. And by 5 years he is able to name 4 colors. So the progression is like that: 3 4 5 1 2 3 4. Okay. Then feeding skills. The child learns to feed self right from 6 months of the age. So when you put a cup and hold it to the lips of a baby who is 6 months old, he can drink from the cup. At 7 months he chews, keeps mouth closed if he does not want more food. At 15 months he feeds self with spoon with spilling. That means there is some rotation of the hand and the food spills off. By 18 months, the spilling stops. By 2.5 to 3 years, he can manage knife and fork. The dressing skills are also very interesting. By 1 year, the child can hold out his arm for wearing the sleeve, and he can hold out the foot for wearing the shoes. So he starts assisting in dressing up. Then comes undressing. So this was with assistance only, na? At 2 years he starts undressing without assistance except for some unbuttoning. At 3 years he can dress as well as undress with supervision. That means advice as to what is the front and back of the dress, what is the appropriate shoe for which foot, right and the left, and he may require still some help in difficult buttons. At 4 years he can do all this independently, dressing and undressing, and by 4 to 5 years he can also start tying his own shoelaces. Sphincter control, this we all remember that 15 months he indicates bladder only after he's already wet his pants. By 2 years he is dry by day, 3 years he is dry by night, and 4 years we just discussed that he goes to toilet alone. That means he can use the lavatory on his own, taking off his pants, after that doing all the cleaning purpose and wearing it back and washing hands. So this becomes independence in the sphincter control by 4 years of age. But this is the general value. Still 1 in 10 children will wet their bed occasionally at night, even at 5 years of age, and the bowel control comes earlier than the bladder control. So the bowel will not be encoparesis by 15 to 18 months of age. So digits. So first is digits, remembering them. 1 of 3. So forward digit span. So 1 of 3 trials at, so just remember it is similar to the age. So 2.5 years he repeats 2 digits forward. 3.5 years he repeats 3 digits forward. 4.5 years he repeats 4 digits forward. 6 years he repeats 5. Now 7 year is again a golden age because here the backward digit span comes. He repeats 3 digit backwards. So 6 years he repeats 5 digits, but he cannot repeat anything backward. But 7 years he can repeat 3 digits backwards, and 8 years he can repeat 6 digits forward. So language milestones, only the important ones. At 1 month the child is alert to sound. At 3 months he coos, he turns head towards sound. Then 4 months he starts laughing out aloud in pleasure. At 6 months there are monosyllables. So what is a syllable? A syllable is a combination of a consonant and a vowel. So like a sound of ba, that is b and a, or da, the and a. A consonant and a vowel sound is a monosyllable. So 6 months is the age when he starts making monosyllables. By 9 months he can make use of bisyllables like bu a, ba ba, da da. By 12 months there are 1 to 2 words with meaning. So mind that the bisyllables were meaningless, out of context. But these words at 12 months will be with meaning. By 18 months, the vocabulary is expanded to 8 to 10 words. At 2 years, there are 2 to 3 word sentences and the use of pronouns. At 3 years, name and gender identity, asking questions. So again, 3 years is the age where somebody is really going to ask you all the questions, and when he knows who is he, what is he, and he will question you. Then 4 years he tells stories, he sings songs and narrates poems also. At 5 years he asks meaning of words. Okay, so the important thing is that there are cooing, monosyllable and bisyllables, then meaningful words, then sentences, then identifying name and gender, then telling stories and poems and songs, and asking the meaning of words. So after the end of these milestones remembering, we need to know that the component of vision and hearing. At birth, the child can fixate at a moving object and can follow up to 45 degrees with the eyes, but is not able to turn the head alongside it. By 4 weeks, he can follow up to 90 degrees. By 12 weeks, he can follow up to 180 degree, and it seems that he is grasping with the eye even when he is not able to reach out for the object with his hands. At 1 year, he can have following of rapidly moving objects, that means he has well developed saccades, and binocular vision, so that he has a three-dimensional view and proper depth perception by starting at 6 weeks, which gets completed by 4 months of age. So last but not the least, we talk of the hearing assessment, and everybody knows about the Murphy sequence, a favorite question of the examiner. We can use several objects for hearing assessment. So we could use a bell, a rattle, an egg shaker, or some wooden rattles as well. So when a sound stimulus is presented to a child 18 inches from either of his ear out of his sight, if he is already 3 to 4 months, he will look at the sound stimulus if it is in the horizontal direction. By 4 to 5 months, he will look in the vertically downward direction if the stimulus is from that side. By 6 to 7 months, he will look vertically upwards for the sound stimulus. By 7 to 8 months, it will be in the shape of an arc. By 10 months, there will be diagonal localization of the sound. So this is the hearing assessment. Thank you very much. Hope this is useful for everyone.